Lutz, and I'm here with. He missed the cue. Tank. And we're here on the front lines. And we're on the front lines against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all of those that want to keep us into the debt slavery system and use us for all sorts of horrible purposes. We just want to be free. But we're here on the front lines fighting the battles. And looks like there's a battle going on where Tank is. You got some background noise there.
Sorry about that. I'm here. But hang on. Keep talking. I'll mute out for a second. I'm out of here.
Sure. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I appreciate everyone. I was looking in the chat room. I did actually make a plea for some donations. I am in a bind, so I do not like to be in this. I'm sure no one does like to be in this kind of position. And I did see that Casa Otoro has contributed $10 in the super chat. It is much appreciated, but it's a distance away for me to actually grab hold of it. Would probably be at least a month from now, and that would be I would have to have advertising also that would reach up to about $100 and combine that with the contribution. So I got to get over $100 threshold to actually receive it, and since they've demonetized. The strange thing is I've been doing cloud token videos, and those are monetized. It's just Frontlines that is not monetized. They really just don't like the content here. So, but we're gonna still keep striving forward. I did post my Bitcoin address and also my PayPal address. Can also receive by way of Western Union and MoneyGram. But please just contact me. So either by email or WhatsApp. Telegram is my preferred way, and let me know. Then we'll figure it out. But yeah, for now I've got some issues that I'm trying to resolve. Buying food today would be good. The Wi-Fi and electricity are just a couple of days out. Rent is also due today, so it's all converged to this day. But I do appreciate everything that everyone has already done and contributed towards my efforts here, and I will keep moving forward, and keep fighting on the front lines. So, all right, that's good, and I think the Tanker, you're back.
I'm here. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, what? Pretty exciting times here at the end of the battle, right?
Sure. We've got a lot of wins. I just watching what's going on in the Congress with Nadler trying to create some kind of false, impeachment trial, and they're going against the rules of the House, right? And then the Republicans are saying you can't do this, and they keep trying to do things that are not are out of parliamentary procedures, and they keep calling up, and they're really trying to push it forward, and they're just losing it. They just look foolish, especially since now I don't know if you know about this, but American intelligence media also was reporting on the actual Russian that worked with Steele for the Steele dossier, right? Said that there was Russian collusion. Who has already admitted to being the one that created it, all the information, and that it's not real. So the foundation of the whole dossier is not real. And then, so how can there be Russian collusion? So, more and more of this is just falling apart, right? So, and this Russian agent is also has connections to that or not, or I think ended up dead. Is what I think it was. That's part of the story I'm not quite clear about. But he may have been the one that got poisoned through plutonium in England and died. Is that another one of the Arkansided in England? He got Arkansided, because he created this information, and then Steele won't say that the document that he wrote, or his name is on, is credible. He won't vouch for it. So, so then you have Nadler there, trying to create an impeachment process all based around something that was got spying warrants, FISA warrants, with the basis of it. So all of this is now coming to head, right? And it's all they're all spinning out of control. McCabe is now going to be under criminal indictment. That's moving forward. You've got who's rallying to his defense. You got Comey, Brennan, and Clapper. So these are
also going to be charged.
Yes.
If he gets charged, they're going down instantly.
Yeah, he's already said, McCabe has already said that he's going to turn. If he's put out there, if he's indicted, he's going to turn. He's already said it. So they're all going to go down. And so they're all just spinning out of in circles, just trying to figure out what can they grab as they're going down the drain.
I would be willing to just put a collar on McCabe at all times for the rest of his life and let him not do any prison time if he turns on every one of those guys. Not that it's up to me. I'm just saying I'd love it if it was.
Sure.
Just to force him to not force him, but to encourage him. That you could actually have a quasi-reasonable life, and
on the island.
on the island, right? You can tell him that later. Yeah. that's fine. Yeah. This Harvest Moon season, man, is driving things crazy. I'm just watching all the different pieces. I love what I don't know what that guy is, from who was on trial today with Nadler, and they were asking him questions, and the guy was like, this is about the, they're trying to come up with all this.
Lewandowski, something like that. Lewandowski.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy. He's the.
So he was like, what specific part of the Mueller report are you referring to? And they're like, you're trying, and I just find the audacity and nerve of the deep state Democratic faction, to be so appalling, right? You basically have the Socialist Party. They shouldn't even call themselves Democrats anymore, right? They're the Socialist Impeachment Party, right? all they want to do is just impeach everybody.
Right.
So Kamala Harris comes out and she's like, a deep investigation into Kavanaugh. I'll tell you what, every one of them that has the nerve to make those claims, they better be ready. If I was on this, I'll tell you what, I actually, Dan, I just sent you this, and if you can, please post it in the chat. It's very, very important, and I want everybody to listen to it. Picking it up in about 120 minutes or so, right? And it talks about common law and this massive effort taking place right now.
Awaken
in
Empower
America.
Radio.
I'm not sure what it's titled actually.
No, just
right.
just making sure. Return of common. Okay,
Yeah, Awaken Empower Radio, right?
Okay.
So this whole thing is about restoring common law and all the actions that have already been taken. Now, this is the same group, I believe, that's attached to Barbara Honegger, who's actually, she says that they are inside the castle and the doors are shut, right? There's no escape. And they've actually gotten a lawsuit against the FBI to show that the September 11th was completely an inside job, and it was within the United States. There's no way that anyone could have had access to do these things if they were not part of the actual justice system. You're looking at, 3 areas of New York City that are the most heavily guarded in all of New York, with the headquarters located for the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the NYPD, all of them, emergency headquarters located in Building 7. And, but basically she talks about how they did it is they called a grand jury because there was a grievance, right? So this guy actually breaks it down to explain how this is done, right? How anybody can call a grand jury if there's a grievance, especially when it's something that the government itself, the court system, is in violation of, right?
Right.
And then the next thing is this, and this is the part that I love right now. There's actually, now, because I always hear about these grand juries, and I don't pay them much mind because there's a grand jury in New York that was filed against Hillary Clinton. I have the whole file, right? I've never seen anybody even remotely take it seriously, right? So I have not taken the grand juries set up this way that seriously. But when you hear this gentleman talk, you can tell he certainly does, and he understands that the courts have to respond and how they have to react, right? Now, he talks about this, how in every county in the U.S. that you have to have, that there's 4 administrators, right? And these administrators, I think he calls them administrators, basically their job is to go and investigate and oversight to make sure the grand juries understand the laws, to make sure the judges and the attorneys understand the laws. Because, and he said this, I love what he made a statement in there. He said, and we don't care about their laws because their laws don't even apply to us. Those are corporate laws, right? And those have nothing to do with the people. He said, this is the people holding the courts accountable. So personally, if anybody's heard me, I've been talking about this, that I hold, as the people, I am holding the courts in contempt of the people. And so amazingly, these administrative positions, these 4 positions in each county, they're actually paid positions, right? So you can get these jobs, and there's no one that even knows about this to even volunteer to get these jobs, right? So it's ways to make money doing what you're doing now, going out and investigating and holding the people accountable. So everybody in the U.S., you know what? Find out where your grand jury is. Find out if you have administrators that represent your local county, and get involved. And I'll tell you, I'm doing it myself because I want to. Because they'll educate you on common law to make sure that you can really get a proper understanding of how it works. And then you get to go out with no legal degree, just regular people. It's common law. I couldn't even believe it existed. So, but the problem is, the reason why you're witnessing the collapse of the American Constitution, and today is the Constitutional Recognition Day or something, right? Mm-hmm. So if there's ever a time to get involved, it's today. Everybody should be looking into this and say, I'll do it. I'll be part of this, right? Because we are being overtaken by this Islamic communist Antifa pedophile hate parade. It's like, if we don't stand up and just own hey, there is actually a way, and I guess I should have always known this, but hearing this guy about it really got me excited. Like, wow, there's really something we could do. I felt a lot better about it personally. So I'm just trying to pass that energy on to everybody else. Hopefully it has some kind of impact. Sparks you to action. I talk all the time about taking action, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this is a great way to take action. I mean, here in the U.S., that is.
It is. The interesting thing about the grand jury is it's really it's meant for the people, right? And the government has basically, made it look as though to the rest of the people that it's for the government's tool. It's like that they'll put like a prosecutor, from the DA or someone over a grand jury, and then those are valid, right? That's how they act. But it's not true, all right? It's meant actually there to be another check and balance against, the judicial system, really. If they're not acting,
right?
if they're not acting appropriately, if they're the ones that are not, doing what the Constitution says, how are we to take a grievance, forward? We need to have some ability to do that, and that's what the grand jury gives you. Now, I've talked with people who think grand juries are a bad idea, and I ask them why, and they really don't have an answer. But I just find it fascinating that in the minds of people that somehow it's become a bad thing. It gives you your rights to basically go after something that the government's not handling. Right? You see that there's a problem, you bring together your neighbors and you say, we're forming a grand jury and here's the problem. And now we're going to turn this over to the authority to go ahead and now put the strong arm of the law behind it and move forward, because that's what it's for. So
right now, that's the real law. That's not statutes, mandates, regulations. All these stipulations that they put on us, right? These contracts. Now, if you don't have a contract, here's something else, Dan, that I thought was really powerful today. Talking to one of my common law experts, he was saying now this is a gentleman who for like the past 15 years, right? He's been in and out of court fighting for his home, and like really learned this via the School of Hard Knocks, to the point where now, he is fully aware of how to stand in the place of these courts and represent himself, right? He's a veteran, and he's a good guy. He really been very helpful to me. And he told me this today. He said, "Now, you were born here in America." He goes, "Now, the fact that you were born in America, that makes you an American national, that you are indigenous to this land."
Mm-hmm.
And I have never heard anybody say that in that way, because I always thought you had to go through all the paperwork and, go through all the stuff. But I'm like, that is a really powerful thing, right?
No, but it's kind of like, because you go and apply for a passport, right? For the United States of Washington, D.C., right? That 1 square mile area, to be a citizen. You're claiming to be a citizen of that 1 square mile of Washington, D.C., to get that United States of America Incorporated passport so that you can travel the world. But you are an American national if you're born on the land, if you're indigenous.
Right. So because we're indigenous to the land, and because we're still on the land, right? Now, I'd have trouble if I traveled, but as long as I'm still on the land, in this, what I started the process of doing today is filing an affidavit, because there is a form, I think called a GSA form, and he was kind of coaching me through it today. And basically, I am going to file an affidavit to file a grievance, or to actually cite that the FDA, the CDC, so a little windy.
Oh, let me fix that.
Okay. So I'm filing this to state that the FDA, the CDC, New York State, and Merck Pharmaceuticals are all in breach of trust of the people, as well as criminally negligent, fraudulent presentation of data, which I have to look up the actual regulation on that. And what's the other one? Yeah, so gross negligence is one of them. And also racketeering. Racketeering to commit ongoing crime. And I have all of this. I can back it up. I'm going to write 2 of them. One, to actually file a lawsuit. But before I file a lawsuit, I'm first going to take it back to the law of 1986, when they set up this, they removed the liability from Merck and these other pharmaceutical companies for anything that happens with the vaccines, because they are in violation of the congressional mandate to provide reports that show that the vaccines are more effective and safer every 2 years for the past 33 years. So that's at least 16 reports that we should have. And RFK Jr., he put on a Freedom of Information request, and they did not have them. So therefore, they have failed to produce evidence to show that they are compliant with the mandate.
Right.
So the burden of proof is on them. Because in this case, because the way it is, I'm citing irreparable harm, which has already been established in New York, right? Because I've already given this medication that was imposed on me. I've had to take it. I've given it to my children, right? That's irreparable damage. I can't even cite the amount of psychological damage it does, not to mention the current physical damage, let alone the ongoing psychological damage or physical damage that may occur later.
Right.
Right? So, with that in mind, irreparable harm has already been established. Now, the only thing left to do is establish who's liable, right? So, because they did not conform, the FDA, and I think the CDC is in that too, and the pharmaceutical companies have not performed. They did not have the information. And therefore, they are liable because the burden of proof in this case is on them to show that they are compliant with the mandate. So I'm going to take away their liability, and then I'm going to file a lawsuit against them. And,
Yeah, that's it's the start, right? But that system is so corrupted, right? To get through anything, this takes years of time and all this expense and attorneys and everything to force this, and then they do all sorts of trickery not to allow it in the very end, right? So it's really
well, actually, a RICO lawsuit, right, shows that if you have actual printed evidence, right, and that could be in the form of text message, email, printed documentation, or video, right? If you have that information, which we do, that we can show exactly what we're claiming, right? Then those usually settle within about 3 months. And in addition to those settling very rapidly, the payout is triple damages. So we're going to take that racket, and I can easily prove that they have an ongoing racketeering scandal going on because they falsified data. But the falsified data can't be let in until you remove the liability.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. I think that things are changing. Right? We've got 150 new judges put into place by Trump. He just did his 150th. So that's going to help. I don't know how many total federal judges there are actually. How big of a dent does that make in it, right? And and if we see some of these sealed indictments coming about, and that change in direction, I think will help. These kind of things also go away. There's so many things that the government puts into place and sets up the law, and they don't fulfill on their end, right? It sounds good, right? It sounds good the way they present it, and there has to be studies, and there has to be things that are checked out, but the government doesn't do that part. So they just impose the law, but the reasonable side to basically say, well, the governing part of that allows it to continue, that law to continue, never happens. All right, and they just put it on us, and so it sounds good. The optics of it look good, right? And it sounds reasonable, but without that one part, it's no longer reasonable. It's no longer fair. It's no longer anything other than dictatorial pushing of the herd of where they want you to go. So.
Well, here's the other thing. So all of the UCC codes, right? They are all as soon as you register as a corporation, you have to register as a foreign agent, right? So these things that they impose on us, we're indigenous, they're foreign. So because they are a foreign agent, right, there is an agreement that they will act according to the Constitution. That is the contract that they are bound by. Now, no one is talking about that you are bound by the Constitution. Now, so you have instances where, the evidence is so clear and obvious. There's laws around conflicts of interest, right? There's monopoly laws and things like that. Now, these are obviously, they're in breach of the trust of the people. Now, in my opinion, the reason why this has been allowed to go on is because we've allowed foreign agents to take over our government. But in reality, it's always been the people's government. So it's time for us to actually utilize the common law and actually start acting as administrators that are paid by tax dollars by the government, by the way. That's where that money comes from. And so these administrators are paid, and it's their job to ensure that these things, this evidence that's coming out, is presented properly to grand juries, and that the evidence is gathered correctly, and that it's done in a fashion that's in line with the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So, in my opinion, this is the opportunity, for the people, which I guess has really always been there, but I'm just becoming aware of it, and so this is something I was asking for from the universe. So I appreciate that it showed up today.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
so I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, things are showing up. I'm confident that things will show up. Everything is going in our way. It's just it's just that being on the edge, waiting for it to move past where we're at to where we do feel the flow and things are happening, and then where we see the transformation happen, and we're there.
So I agree. So here's what I want to throw at you, right?
Okay.
So last week, on when we were doing the Q&A, right? Mm-hmm. I talked about things that have to launch simultaneously, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And the first three things I talked about, I said, look, you have to have the banking system changed, right? Now, Kim's been working behind the scenes to change the banking system over. But the next thing I talked about was you have to address the legal side and the healthcare side simultaneously, right? The actual health of the people. Now, after so we have to make sure we follow proper protocols, and with this gentleman who came on with all this incredible information about these different cures, right? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the appropriate constitutional measures to get that product to the people. So with that in mind, it's not something he can charge for because he can get in trouble, and but obviously these things they do cost money. So we're trying to figure out what the proper lawful way is to do that so that we don't get in trouble, right? And we're deeply involved in that in meetings every day, a couple times a day. So when we figure that out with everybody, we'll let you know. But I just want to make sure people knew that. So with that in mind, now think about it. So I mentioned three things, right? Well, Sunday night, we have somebody call us and basically tell us they have a very reasonable treatment that can literally completely change the health of every single person in the country, in the world, right? Let's call that healthcare, right? So we manifested an abundance in good health. Then we talked about having a method to address the legal system, right? And my personal, my secret thought was like, how do I personally, because there's certain things that I really don't appreciate when I see these attorneys argue. I'm like, why aren't you talking about this or this or this or this? Now I'm a layman on this, right? I'm not an expert by any means in common law, but I know that there are people who are experts. So immediately someone sends me a link telling me about this guy who's already leading the charge of this, that I can jump on his coattails and help push forward, the momentum that he's already created. Not just him, like the whole group, but this is happening nationwide, right? And he talks about how everything will be returned. This will be returned to the government we're supposed to have. So there's the legal side. So now the only thing really left, which I'm fully confident in, being that we just, as a collective, we just manifested in good health a pathway to completely convert the laws, because we just manifest those things. And well, the obvious next step is the other thing that I said that has to be manifest simultaneously, right? These things all have to come at the same time, because there's money that you're going to need for security, and money you're going to need just to make sure that you can weather the storm of the bar delay system, right? So I have to believe that the obvious next step and inevitable call that we've made to the universe is that the money will be manifest as well. So Now that is my inside, internal, intuitive insight of that.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest challenges we have in doing this, oftentimes, is because we're looking at what we can see with our eyes, right? And because we're looking at what we can see with our eyes, what happens is, we're like, well, I don't have it yet, or this is not right, or this is that, or, all these different things that we naturally feel. Well, consider this for a second, okay? With your physical eyes, the way that you see things, personally, is unique to your personal experience. The way it works is that everything you look at is actually upside down through your eyes. It crosses through, flips right side up, and projects to the back of your brain, right? So everything you're seeing at all times exists completely inside of you. Everything you see. So with that in mind, you have to believe that, the colors I see might be different than the colors you see, and vice versa. The sounds that I hear that mean one thing might sound different to you, right? Because it's all internal. So that being said, we're literally everything that we see and appreciate and are experiencing, it exists within us, right? That's just the science of it, based on the example I just used. So I just see it like this. If that's the case, then couldn't it just be that every single thing that is happening, whether it appears to be positive or negative, is really working to give us the exact world that we want to create?
Yes. That's basically
Right.
what's happening. Yes.
Exactly what's happening. So, with that in mind, with every experience that we're seeing, these are things that are telling us something about ourselves that we either have to release, or that we have to, to be in this vibration, the frequency that matches what we want. That this is something we have to look at and address first, right?
Yeah.
So let me give you some examples, right? So a natural concern I have is for my children's safety, right? As any good parent would. So amazingly, in this little town that I have been talking about for months, Dan, how there's no crime in my town, right?
Right.
How they run the sirens just to mess with me constantly, which I'm pretty sure I've proven. Now, with that in mind, all of a sudden, yesterday, out of nowhere, in the pizza place where my kids hang out, not even a block from my house, right? My 13-year-old boys will go there after school. The pizza place, there is a sudden rush of like 40 kids there, and this one young man, right, who just moved into town. Coincidentally, he moved next door to me. And he was a perfect gentleman, just a young kid. And there's a girl who's his same age, who lives on the other side of my house, right? And as a gentleman, he walks her home from school. So this girl had a boyfriend in the next, 2 towns down. So an ex-boyfriend. This ex-boyfriend comes looking for a fight. Now, I'm pretty sure this kid was triggered by something, right? Just programming somehow. And he came looking for a fight, and he brought a knife. So this young man who lives next door to me got stabbed, and today he died. That young man died. So when I look at it, on either side of my house, this is zeroed in on me, so to speak, right?
Right.
This kid gets killed. So I have to take it personally because it affects, I know the kids, right?
Right.
And it's a place where my kids hang out. So to me, that's, now, if I take that, and it's not something I'm happy about, right? And I just allow myself to acknowledge and realize, I do have a fear and a concern for my kids' safety. And I realize there's just no way that I'd be able to keep them safe all the time. There's just no way. There's no way I can stay with them at all times. I can't keep them closed up enough. I can't keep them away from all this. The only thing I can do is just give them the best of what I have, which I've already done. because all my kids are and all your kids are, they're just 23 chromosomes from you and 23 chromosomes from your spouse, and that's what makes them up, the mother and the father. So your children are an expression of you, just like we are an expression of Source. We are an expression of our divine father and mother as well. Now, that's been enough for us to make it this far in life. I realize I just have to trust that that's enough for them, in addition to all that we do as parents, right? So that's one thing. But now, check this out. Now, this is really, when you can recognize the universe is really talking to you, right? So today, again, in my little town, less than about a half mile away from my house, in this little town where there's no crime, there's this young guy. He's like 32 years old. He is, I guess he's mentally handicapped, or I'm not sure exactly what it was. He had Down syndrome or something like that, right? And he's at home, and he's arguing with his sister. And I guess he got a little rough, like too active. So his sister called the cops, right? So the cops show up at this kid's house. Now this just happened maybe 3 hours ago. The cops show up at this kid's house, right? And the kid's like 6 foot tall, 385 pounds, right? So he's morbidly obese, right? And the cops show up, right? And when the cops show up, the kid runs at them with a samurai sword, right? So the cops put 4 bullets in him and killed him, right? Now, again, this does not make me happy, but it certainly has my attention.
Couldn't they do like
Now,
one bullet in the leg?
No, the kid is dead.
No, I'm just saying that why 4 bullets? An obese kid with a
He was
sword.
running. He was a big kid. He was a grown man, and he was running at them with a sword. He was a big guy,
Yeah.
right? So I'm sure the cops just fired off shots real quick. I'm sure that wasn't aggressive. They were just scared,
Oh.
So they responded. So, but now, so that allowed me to acknowledge some of my other personal insecurities, right? That you would never know by talking about. I have a fear of like fat phobic, or I had a fear of being obese because I had an aunt who was literally crushed by her own weight, suffocated from her own weight, and it's always something that I've been proactively conscious of and kind of fighting to make sure I always maintain, good health and don't let that happen to me. Become a prisoner in my own body, right? So you have this kid who's morbidly obese. When I was in school, when I was a kid, I didn't do well in school, right? I didn't do well in school. I just barely graduated my undergrad. By the time I did my master's, I was 30. By then, I figured out how I learned, so I did well then. But I had a personal insecurity about, feeling dumb, right? So a kid, people would call him dumb. They would pick on him, right? Then, you think about it, we're always talking about we're leading a charge, right? We're leading a charge, and there's a symbolism with a sword. A sword is a key, it's a weapon, right? And it's also what you would lead somebody in battle with, right? So we're always talking about leading a charge. Oftentimes when I go into meditation, I'll often see swords and talk about it with my super friends of energetic workers, right? So this kid comes out with a sword. But then on top of that, when I was a kid, I had my license suspended because I didn't pay an inspection sticker, right? And I got arrested in every single county from my house, because back then the systems didn't connect, right? From my house to college, right? So in 5 different occasions, I got pulled over in every town, and I spent the night in jail, right? To this day, I wear shoes in the house because because they would take your shoes, right? So here they are. So here this kid is going after these police, and then they put him down. I'm like, now, isn't that just like the cabal to find some deep-seated evil way to try to spark latent, hidden emotions that might weaken what we're doing? So I take those things personally, is my point, right? And I look at it as we must be so close and they're so desperate that they're willing to do anything to try to get inside our heads. Willing to do anything. Now, I don't take that as, oh my gosh, be careful, everybody, be scared. Not at all. What I look at with that is, we must be so close. We are so close that they're desperately doing anything they can to try to get inside our heads, right? And that's how I see everything right now. That if you are attacked, if someone comes after you with trying to scare you, you should be more confident now than ever. Because as far as I can tell, that means that we are on the right path. Even right now, Dan, as you're struggling through the situation, it may or may not make it better, but personally, and I know you think this way too, but I know that's just a temporary situation, is they're trying to, put that weight and that stress on you, right? But in reality, it's a moment in what will be a long career where you'll be able to go out and touch the lives of so many people, and it's a gift. It's a gift.
Well, I've been there, right? I've experienced, giving and helping people and having plenty, and I've seen it, before. I know that things change around, right? I know that things just, it just takes a moment for things to move, right? Just everyone decides at the same time. Let's get the flow going. Boom, and it happens. And 1 minute later, everything can change. And so whether I have donations now, or other people come in and work with me in Cloud Token, and that starts earning money that's enough to carry me over. Whatever it is, these things just come about. It could be something completely out of left field, right? Wow, I didn't know
Absolutely
anything about that, and boom, it lands there. It could be a phone call, an email. These things just happen because you're moving. You're positively moving in that direction. If you're in the state of this negativity, the created from the loosh, right? You have this fear, right? What you're doing is creating more of that, right? You get in this loop. You get in the loop of creating more and more.
Well, yeah, I agree. No, I know you're really good about that too. That's why. I'm glad we're talking. Not everybody could have that kind of attitude about it.
Well, I've had to go through some major trauma, and analyze, and get to that place of having this understanding, even though I innately knew it when I was young, right? It's to have everything ripped away, right? And then figure out what was the difference, why things weren't being able to manifest moving forward, and realize it all came back to fear. And I realized the opposite of love is fear. It's not hate, it's fear. Hate is related to fear.
Yeah, they're good friends.
Yeah, they're good friends, but it's all based around fear. The lack of having something, the lack of something happening to you, or not lack of the fear of having something happen to you. The fight or flight response, is being abused, into us being paralyzed. Cannot do either. Can't fight, and you can't flight. It's just this state of limbo of not knowing what to do, confusion. And really just, be positive, move forward. I don't like asking for donations. It's not some place I've used that I'm in, and only reason they're doing it is because I'm at the point where I have to ask for help, and it's like I don't like it, but I'm not afraid to do it. I just don't like the feeling of being in this position, right? No one does, right? And this exists throughout, everybody, experiencing this, especially at this time. The system is designed to remove all of the funds from everywhere, even the people who have traditionally had a lot in the bank, they see it dwindling, right? And what is their reaction? Fear. And then they do this, right? They hold on to it, right? And then they stop being kind to others. They shut off, things that they were doing because of fear, right? So the abundance is a mindset. The scarcity mindset comes from fear. Thinking that there's not enough, there's not going to be any more. I got to keep what I have. Bury your talent in the ground. All of these, things that you do out of reaction of fear. So I'm fearless. So I'm willing to go one step at a time, and I know that the money will come through to make this happen. And things will be okay. Just another day. Actually, maybe we'll go check and see. I'm curious now. I'll check on my PayPal. Most people have been sending by PayPal. No one sent by Western Union or MoneyGram. Well, okay. There's a couple of responses and one case that needs my what is that? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my PayPal. It looks like there's about $65 has come in, and then something that says I've got a case. I don't know what that means.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, well, 65. Oh, that definitely helped. Oh, unauthorized transaction for $100. Oh, I guess something came through for $100, and there's a problem with it.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, it could have been a mistake. They might have meant $10, and they sent $100, and they might have retracted it. So, yeah. From C. Walton, whoever that is. Thank you for whatever you were attempting to do.
So Dan,
Yes.
we're in this is a very powerful time, man. Sorry, Go ahead. I'm sorry, I make the joke.
No. It's okay. I was just I'm contemplating what PayPal's throwing at me there. So, but thank you for the people who are contributing and helping. That it does help. Anyway, you have my warmest wishes and eternal gratitude for everything that you're doing to help me in this time of need. Thank you so much. All right. So what were you about to say, Tank?
So I was going to say that we're in a very powerful time
Yes.
of manifestation, and I'm gonna prove it right now. Okay. So I was at my house, leaving the house to come get on the call, right? And we were breaking down the events with my son and wife, and we were talking about these different things that have happened over the past 2 days. My son was like, "What the heck's happening in Oceanside, right? It's crazy." And I immediately popped into my head was the next step, right? Because this is something they do, right? The next step would be for them to attack the school, right? Do some kind of school shooting. And I immediately thought, I don't think I should let kids go to school tomorrow, right? And then I was like, well, I don't want to give into fear. But wisdom is the judicious application of knowledge, right?
Right.
It's just, making smart decisions based on the things that you already know.
And intuition.
So and intuition. So, I kind of just put it in the back because I figure I can make the decision in the morning if I need to. But we just got a message from the superintendent of schools to notify us that the school has been threatened and that the young man who, I guess, whatever he did, he was coming with a group of people to come shoot up the school or something, right? So they threatened to do exactly that, right? So we're obviously not sending the kids to school tomorrow. But my point in that is not to bring attention to the negativity, but to me personally and to everyone out there, I would say be very cognizant of what you're thinking about, what you care about, what you're talking about right now, and realize that we are on the verge of an immense, incredible breakthrough for all humanity. Matter of fact, not even on the verge. We are on the other side of that. The money is already in the banks. The system that Kim designed is already in operation. The banks are already using it, right? So they're learning it. And right now, I believe the Federal Reserve has a 2-day meeting. Now, what they're meeting about, I don't know, because they don't even have a charter. They're not even a thing, right? So at best, what would they come out of the meeting with? The exact same thing they've said a million times. You know, another reason to act like they have power. There is no cabal. There is no Illuminati. It is a group of vigilantes, not vigilantes.
Terrorists.
Vigilantes is kind of good.
Financial terrorists.
Yeah, there's a group of financial terrorists, con men, and, you know, pedophiles that are in these systems trying to protect their criminal enterprise, which has been essentially destroyed. There is nothing left for them to hold on to. There is no place for them to run. There's no place to hide. And the best evidence of that, please, I hope you posted that link, but please.
I did.
Go, that link is there. That link is essential because that is an opportunity for the people to voice their grievance about the things that are not getting done and the things they want done. And this is your opportunity to get it. Now, it's been there all along. We had this power the whole time. And maybe you are already doing something that I'm behind, which probably was. I'm sure lots of you have done lots of things. But I would say this. There's never been a time where the collective energy and the universe and the planet has ever supported you the way it does right now. This is the time of action. And timing is everything. Because, you know, we do live in a third dimension where time and space are still very important factors. So just put that out there.
Yeah, I think, you know, time and space are important still.
Yeah, you know. As long as we're here, might as well buy them.
Yeah, you know, it's, you know, I like this place. You know, I can intend on hanging out for another, you know, couple 100,000 years or so.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to see what happens.
Yeah, this is
very exciting.
You know, just, you know, at least, you know, this spin, you know, we've got the, you know, the cures for all these horrible diseases. We can, you know, fix, you know, remove that block on the 120-year block, you know, that they have to have on a DNA.
What is it?
120-year lock or block that they put on the DNA. You know, this is, you know, the Anunnaki, right? You know,
all right.
Right. They scaled back our lifespan to 120 years.
Oh, right.
Right.
No.
And, you know,
That's not possible anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know, we can remove these things right now. We have the knowledge, you know, to you know, correct these things. You know, they just put a little kink in it and say, oh, we just clipped it right there. Just need our telomeres to grow.
Yeah. No, you know, this other product that's out there is I think it's called Miracle Mineral Supplement. It's MMS, right? It actually talks about that exact thing. That it actually lengthens the telomeres, right? It also stops all of these inflammatory conditions that happen in the body, like arthritis and what's the other one? It's like arthritis of the nerves, but various inflammatory conditions, right?
Yeah.
Everything in our bodies comes down to blockage and inflammation. You know, it basically creates all the other problems. So if you can treat those symptoms, not symptoms, but if you treat the source of those conditions, realistically, what is it that would be tearing the body apart? Well, malnutrition is one of them, right? And if you look at this, it's really devilish what they did, right? Like they knew that we could basically survive with no food at all, just from the sun. We could just survive from the sun, right? I mean, now maybe not solely, but you know, very minimal food, to be honest, right? But what they did instead was they introduced food that was lacking key nutrients by using GMOs, right? So what ends up happening is we constantly overeat, not because we need more calories, but because we're lacking nutrients.
Right.
So we overeat, right? So we're craving more nutrients. We can't get them, so our body's still hungry. Eventually, our gut stops communicating with our brain to tell us we're full. And that's where you get the condition of obesity, because we'll constantly overeat repeatedly day after day after day after day after day because we're craving energy, right? That's what we need. So opening up the channel within ourselves to have that energy freed up. Well, you know, what the gentleman was talking about the other night, if your arteries are not blocked, right, the blood flow is not blocked to your brain and the rest of your body, then obviously you would naturally just get more energy, right? You naturally feel more energized. So you'd be getting what you need, so you would naturally eat less.
Right.
Right? Not only that, but they doubled it up, right? By actually forcing us and normalizing the consumption of what is like emergency rations, right? Food that has a shelf life of like, a year, that is ground into a powder, like ground to the point where it can't sprout anymore, so it's not living. So now it's dead food, right? Ground into a powder, then reshaped into something else. Then you put it on a shelf, and that's become normal consumption, right? Like when we were kids, we went to McDonald's like once, every 6 months. Now, kids go to McDonald's, sometimes every day. Families have, fast food for dinner all the time. So they combine these factors, right? So what happens with that kind of, pre-digested food is it fills in all of the space in your gut tract, right? Where you would basically have like these little fingers that would grab the nutrients, grab the food, and pull that in, and it prevents it. It disrupts your natural function of your body, right? Because it's like filling grass with sand, right? So you have that factor. Then, to make matters worse, they take fluoride, they put it in the water. So fluoride will calcify any soft tissue where this is built up, right? So it goes after your pineal gland. So you can't even imagine a way to fix it. It goes after, it builds up around your heart to cause, cardiovascular disease. It builds up, around builds up as visceral fat in your body. Now, that's not something commonly spoken about, but that is what happens, okay? So you have fluoride in. Then on top of that, to make matters worse, they fill the air with soft metals, right? So you have these soft metals, which are these super dense particles, which create these extraordinarily powerful free radicals that are constantly chipping away at your body, right? And then they become part of your system. So now you're weighed down with this dense metals, right, on a micro level that are attaching themselves to your body, to your cell, filling in spots where there's damage. Then they also introduce massive amounts of addictive sugar, and sugar travels through your body like shards of glass, right? It's this very volatile molecule.
It's an acid. It's an acid.
What's that?
It's an acid. Sugar is an acid.
Oh. I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
but I know what the molecule looks like and the damage it causes in the body. Ripping apart different parts of your body, right? Creating a flawed system that is desperately trying to absorb from the planet what it needs, but they've poisoned the planet. They poisoned the air, the food, and the water, right? So then you could, realistically, you could take frequency and you could completely heal yourself anyways, but they bombard everything. They put lumen in the, what is it called? The LD, whatever the quality is in the lights, right? So you're being bombarded with frequencies that way. They put it out in the airwaves. They changed it over to a 440 frequency, but nothing in nature vibrates that. So all of these things are bombarding us nonstop. This is a collective system to shorten our lifespan, like Dan said, to be 120 years, right?
Yeah, that must be too long for them, right? It's like, oh, we gotta like scale that back to 60, right? But why can't they tweak the DNA now? Interesting. Well, what they don't have that power? What's the issue there?
Right now.
Yeah, it's like, if they were responsible. But if it's not, unless it's not them, right? They're just like the slave masters, and they're the ones that are trying to scale it back for other reasons.
Well, I'm not sure exactly.
Maybe for private, maybe to make money, right? This is another way to reduce the lifespan by turning it into money for them.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, because they realize we're waking up too fast, right? Mm-hmm. So in the height of their movement to kill us, Kim flipped the switch on it, right? And she took all of the electronic devices, right, and all this stuff that they're using to try to kill us, and she reversed the flow so the source, they got to block from like all these things in the air and the chemtrails that they're trying to block the source energy from coming into the planet, right? Mm-hmm. And what she did is she basically created a loophole. So now all the electronic devices, source energy is pouring in through them. And it's powering the whole system, mm-hmm. right? So as source energy is pouring into us, we're actually becoming healthier. And the only reason why she was able to do that is because it does no harm to anyone, right? It's whatever, it's creative energy. It's, you still have your free will to use it how you see fit.
Right.
But I said all that to say, now, as they try to destroy us, how appropriate is it? Well, this gentleman comes on the phone the other night, and he was talking about this herb, some of the stuff he was doing, and he was calling it, he was really talking about the spirituality of it, right? Like, this is from God. Now, doesn't it seem appropriate that the earth herself would offer up the solution? Isn't that beautiful? Think about that. She's offered up the solution. She said, here, take this. I'm giving it to you. Take this. Get it out to the people. This will, now, if I understood correctly, and it really does work, from what I understand it does, then that very source from the planet has the ability to undo all the calcification the fluoride is causing, to tear out the wasted substance in the body that is tearing up our gut tract. It has the ability to release the calcification around our pineal gland, allowing us to create new solutions, allowing us to connect deeper with who we really are.
I want some.
That is profound.
I want some.
Listen, like I said, we made arrangements. We have things on the way. Now, anybody out there on either side of this, good guys or bad guys, but probably, most people don't see themselves as a bad guy, right? They just see themselves as someone who is protecting their own self-interest.
Right.
Stop protecting your self-interest, because right now, if you're in a position where you can make a difference, now, I truly believe that there's an awakening in that crowd. When you have 13 FBI agents who are willing to stand up and speak out against the atrocities that Hillary Clinton has committed, that is profound, right? And you know something, they did not come up there and say that and put that out publicly if it wasn't already done. I guarantee you, right, those testimonies are already recorded. So now, you have things like this that are happening, right? And there's change that is taking place all around us. So I'm putting that all out there in that way because there's two parts. I want you to know how impossible it is for us to beat them. I want you to know how incredibly strong our enemy is. I want you to know all the factors that have been against us. I want you to know there's no way they ever thought we could win. I want you to know that in everybody's book, we should be dead. They saw us as barbarians. They should just kill us off. And I want you to know that you beat them anyways. That's what I'm talking about. Because there's an Indian prophecy that doesn't quite fit what I'm trying to say, so I always modify it. So excuse me for anybody out there who's not Indian, but a Native American prophecy. But it says, make my enemies strong, so that when I defeat them, I know my true strength. Now, that's what I believe it should say. And you know what? I'm Iroquois, so I feel like that's my Native American. That's my Iroquois prophecy.
There we go. Well, we are there at this time, so good. Let's keep it rolling. Now, I've been watching also more, like American intelligence media. There's another one that they put out there. It's about the blood. and why the elites are going after the blood. But they really talked about, what's contained in the blood, and things that they're finding out is that the blood has nothing to do with cleaning the body, like we've been taught, right? It's actually the lymph node system that is there for, cleaning up the body. Other than removing CO2, from the body, it's actually something much, much more, right? And it's really about the life and about the minerals that's contained within it that help create the reality. And that's what was a little fascinating, about it. And I got to listen to it again because the guy they had on was the first time. But it was kind of interesting to see that this is why the elites are going after the blood, right? Or it's the same like eating the heart of your enemy, to get their courage. It's about this information that's contained in there, the creation of reality. So this is a something I want to definitely dive into a little bit more and get to see what that's about, because we have learned so much about how things are going, even though it's been hidden from us, right? So the elites are doing it for a reason, right? They're absorbing this. These it's the blood that's containing these elements. Like we're transforming reality, but it's through the blood, right? That's happening. Right, the pineal gland and the pituitary gland are there, right? That are parts of this system, but it's fed by the blood. It's carrying, as I say, would be carrying information. Carrying the minerals around, and once it's been processed through us, it's containing that we could say that reality history.
The DNA?
The DNA, but the reality history. DNA is information, right?
Sure.
So anyway, I think it kind of applies to what we were just talking about. So but it's
that's great. It's a great example. Because you always hear about this in the scriptures where it says the life is in the blood, right? Mm-hmm. And oxygen is in the blood. And you have this incredible delivery system, right? Like you take a deep breath and you have oxygen released all over your body, like immediately, right? So you have this incredible delivery system with the blood. And one of the things that's most important is, when people become like anemic, it's because the iron, there's enough iron in the body, but the iron can't actually get inside the hemoglobin. So you become, your blood becomes iron deficient, right?
Right.
So in reality, it's all about the hemoglobin itself, the actual blood cell, being receptive to receiving what it needs to rejuvenate the body, right? And that's why, like things like insulin, right? Like insulin is like a key. It opens things up so the blood sugar maintains, but it's not really about the blood sugar, right? Everything in the body is cardiovascular, issue, because the cardiovascular system is really just an extension of the heart. That's why people, in reality, if you ever went to like the body exhibit, you would see all the veins and arteries of a human being, right? And you could tell very clearly that it's just by looking at the veins and arteries that it's a person, right? That it creates the entire shape and form of the human body, just with the veins and arteries, because it's symbolic of the spiritual individual that we are, a spirit, soul, and body within a body, right? So you have that played out in your cardiovascular system, showing us that when we talk about your heart, like doing things from the heart, loving from the heart, being all heart. In sports, they'll say that you have no heart, or you need to have heart, right? These are all symbolic of courage, of caring, of giving all you have. These are all principles. They're all spiritual principles that are not quantifiable. You can't measure them and hand somebody a cup of it, but it's real. And it's symbolic of the love that exists all throughout your body. So if you ever had a question of who you are, then you can look at your heart and realize that your heart extends through every inch of your body expressing itself as the cardiovascular system. That is your heart. So you are all heart. So don't lose heart. Because in this time, it's time for us to demonstrate who we are.
Right.
Because all of that is just an expression of source or of God, or however you see that to be.
Yeah, no, yeah, this is not the time to lose heart.
That's right.
We need to
That's right.
keep focus on our goal. We're take our steps forward. There's so much already has been completed. Just looking at the world stage, just seeing how much Trump has accomplished is such a beacon, right? To know, that we've, done so much with someone that's for us in the driver's seat for just 3 years. How much he's already, turned back everything that they were trying to do, all the things that the events that they had planned that have not come about, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's right. I think about this all the time. Our natural instinct, right? Like I'm thinking about these kids, right? Something else this lesson taught me, right? Our natural instinct,
Right.
would be to fight.
Yep.
Right? Like you hit me, I hit you. And you know what happens? Both people get bruised, right? Both people are hurt. Now you've magnified what they wanted to happen in the first place. They wanted to do damage, now they've done twice as much because you contributed. Now, the other side is true too. It takes two people to fight. Now, this kid could have gone crazy, I guess, and just slaughtered him, but at the end of the day, we don't have to play their game. If we know this is what they're doing, right? Like when Kamala Harris comes out and makes false accusations against Kavanaugh, and it just gets to a point where it's like, are you kidding? You're gonna dredge up something that's already been proven wrong. You know what it does? It doesn't make Kavanaugh look less credible. It makes Kamala Harris look like an idiot. Like she already admitted, this woman already said she couldn't remember it happening. I'm sorry, the one woman said she couldn't remember it happening at all. And then Blasey Ford, she said outright that she misidentified Kavanaugh. She admitted it. And her 4 friends, who were all, like your friends who are vouching for this horrible thing, right? What woman would dare, if they saw it happen, would lie? And today they came out and said that Blasey Ford's one friend, said she did not remember it happening, and she did not believe it ever happened, and that she was pressured by Blasey Ford's attorneys to lie. So when you have a potential presidential candidate who's coming out to support a woman who is lying about being, sexually assaulted, she diminishes the credibility to all women who have ever actually been abused. She makes it so that other people, when a woman actually stepped up who was actually sexually abused, now people are less likely to believe that woman, right, because of this coward, this woman that they identified and gave an award for courage for lying. Right? It's like an acting award.
Right. Well, it looks like also she was, MK Ultra, victim. Right.
Well, she was teaching, wasn't she teaching?
Yeah. No, she teaches.
Ultra?
Yeah. But also she was a victim of it as well. She's part of the clowns industry there.
Part of the circus training camp. Yes.
Yeah, the circus training camp. That's it. Clowns in training. She's recanted her story, but they still keep going on about it. I mean, how does anyone not realize that this is all falling apart? So few people, I think, are now, not aware that there's something wrong with what they've been taught and what they've been shown and what's coming out of CNN. That's why CNN keeps dropping, MSNBC keeps dropping. No one can listen to them anymore, right?
Right. Because it just gets to a point where it's like, oh my gosh, what is this channel anymore? It's not comedy, it's not tragedy, it's not entertaining. All it is
hate Trump all the time.
Come on to can you believe Trump? Like what would you do this time? What did he do? Think about. I love
He's
what he said about President Trump. Like President Trump is a billionaire, right? He came in as president worth $1 billion, let's say, right? Came in as a billionaire. He has lost hundreds of millions of dollars being president. Do you really think you have a case against this man when you had Barack Obama come in worth about $1.3 million? He left office worth about $300 million, right? He doesn't own any businesses. How on earth did President Obama make all that money while he was busy being the president? Was he moonlighting? Was he waiting tables? What did he do to make that money? It just doesn't make sense. The only option is fraud. It's the only option, but we all accept it. We all sit back and say, well, he's the president. Well, what does that mean? Where did the money come from?
Right.
So, meanwhile, President Trump, they're trying to make it look like he's taking emoluments. And I love it. He's responding, he's like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get, money, this little extra change from these people to have them stay at my resort. Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous. It's so laughable because no president has ever been worth that much money.
Well,
right?
And also a lot of these agreements for these free stays from the Air Force pilots and things like that he had offered was worked out under the Obama administration. There's actually an agreement.
Right, it had nothing
to do with him.
Nothing to do with it. Right.
So
obviously, President Trump, he's too busy winning to worry about running his hotels. I mean, come on. Too busy kicking your ass. Stop it.
Yeah. Someone buys a burger in his restaurant, and so because he got them to stay there for free.
Right.
I mean, talk about stretching. It's just, the spirit.
And I would also say,
it has to do with
his emollient. Even if he was collecting emoluments, right? Do you think he's collecting more emoluments than the $300,000 or $400,000 he gets for a paycheck?
Or he doesn't get his paycheck; he donates it back.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not more than that, right? And he gives that away.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see your point. Yeah.
So, if you just look at it fairly and kind of compare those numbers, it's like, well, why wouldn't he just keep his paycheck? If he was really trying to run a scam.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
They're just so used to everybody having so much dirty laundry, having so much to dig up, that if you didn't, if you suddenly, got a conscience, right, and you didn't want to be part of the, the extended pedophile network, and you didn't have any tape on you, then they would just ruin you, right?
Right.
But with Trump,
they don't have
he's
anything.
been prepared for this.
Yeah, that's why I think it's on a Tesla plan. that they went back and they really just said, okay, while he was growing up, they explained the whole thing to him and said, listen, you're just going to have to be cleaner than a whistle growing up, and you can build a casino, but don't do it dirty. So he's flirting and on the edge of their whole thing, and but they all assume he's part of them because he's there. I mean, after all, you got a casino, you must be dirty, right?
Well, right. He's flashy, right?
He's flashy. He's over the top, and and after all, he likes beautiful women, So.
Oh! I knew it. You know what I think is a plus though? At least he doesn't like beautiful children as sexual partners. I think that's definitely a plus side, right? So
yeah. Well, interesting thing. I just heard Trump complain that they're showing him on the news with the color tweak to make him look orange.
Oh, really? I didn't like this at first. Before I became a Trump fan, I didn't like that he was so. I thought he was petty. When he always called him out for things, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was always talking about his election. Are you really talking about the election still? At first, because I just didn't know what was going on. I mean, and I was still sold on the RV. So, so now I look at it and I'm like, it's so smart.
Oh,
Every single thing they do, you just tell them, I see you. I see you again. I see what you're doing. I'm aware of it. I'm not afraid of you. I'm going to call you out all day. I don't care if everybody thinks I'm crazy, because eventually what they'll see is I'm right.
Hey, I just want to point out someone included me into a global currency reset group, right? It's a part of our group here that are still in GCR stuff and watching what's going on. And they were talking about the payouts, right, and the levels that are getting paid out, right? And they were saying, this one is going to get paid out, right? And so I just added, that level 5 is going to get paid out before level 3.
Right. And now it's being reported on Chronicles.
No, this is in the Telegram group, Global Currency Reset via QFS. Oh, but looks like I think someone deleted my response. No, what? I guess they didn't appreciate my humor. So
that's nonsense. You don't have the sources, Dan. Talking to that jerk tank.
Yeah, the thing. The thing is, I didn't ask to be put in the group, and that was my first ever response. Was just, because it's like, again, it's like, how many times I was, Now remember, how did level 4 get split into levels group A and group B? I mean, what's that all about?
I know.
That's why I decided. Hey, you know what about level 5?
Well, what's tough? What I feel like, just as a reality check for everybody still following the global currency reset, right? Yeah. So think about it. The global currency reset is a stretch, but when you feel like it's real and you're hearing this, you're like, this is amazing, right? You're like, it all makes sense now. And you start to get really involved in the intel, right? So I think from that standpoint, it's been a good tool to bring people in and make people aware, kind of like the Q, movement. So if you can get out of it, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, though. Think about what you learned in the global currency reset. You learn that the banks are diabolically corrupt, right? They're filled with cabal. Everything's been run by the banks. You have cool nicknames for them and all types of stuff, right?
Right.
But then somebody like Blue Wolf, whose main contact is the CEO of HSBC in Texas, right? That's a secret source, right? Which is not a secret. We know it's a cabal banker that keeps saying the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. So anyways, that's his big source. Bruce, from the Big Call. His sources are Wells Fargo bankers. And then now I think he got contacted by some HSBC bankers, right? And so they're bankers. And their intel, according to other people, is the most reliable intel. Now, if we've already established that everybody in the banks is diabolically corrupt, and then you rely on the intel coming directly from the banks, right? Doesn't anybody question, like, wait a minute, I wonder if we could trust this information? It's like if Dracula is over the blood bank, and blood goes missing, and you show up and Dracula's there, and there's blood dripping from his mouth, and he's like, somebody stole the blood. You're like, no problem, Dracula, let's go find it. And then you're grateful because he's a blood expert.
Yes,
like, I'm sure he'll find it.
I mean, this is a perfect analogy. I got to hand it to you there. That would explain everything,
Exactly.
Well, the thing is, probably at the very top they are vampires. They are into, as I said, the consumption of our blood. Actually, part of this Serial Brain 2 they put out about the hurricane and how it came up and how it was meant to cover a nuclear disaster that they would create in Alabama. But along the way, it actually went through the blood where they would be carrying the human trafficking stops right along the way, and kind of stopped at those places. So I think after the Patriots took control of it, and I guess they can guide. I guess what was saying, it was being guided by a ship with a container on it, right? They have some way of doing it where they could literally, trail the hurricane behind them with probably some sort of Tesla technology.
Probably.
Because, we're really just talking about magnetic, creating a magnetic field that will attract and change the energy and which way things are rolling, because it's all energy. That's why the HARP system works, and they can create. They just pump energy into the stratosphere, bounce it back down onto the ocean, which creates the cauldron where things start swarming around, and creates the energy to create the hurricane. So, but they literally, I think, they made pit stops along the way, and made sure to, let the cabal know that we've got this, right? You're not in control of these things. You can't throw weather storms at us. You can't create earthquakes. I think the earthquake stuff was wiped out by that satellite system that was taken down back when they had created this this frequency that went around the world, and everyone said, "Well, what is this frequency? What is that?" Right? And it was sustained for a period of time. It was obviously an artificial signal, and then after that they took it offline. They say, it was their signal, say, "Hey, we've got this. You don't have control over earthquakes anymore." So,
Yeah.
we're step by step we're winning. No more chemtrails. July 4th, clear skies. See,
Well,
look,
actually, this past weekend,
Oh.
over the Harvest Moon,
Oh.
I had the worst chemtrails I ever saw above my house, right? Most obvious chemtrails I've ever seen, ever, right? And, but I don't, but again, they're going to get away with, one-offs like that from time to time, right? And when they're targeting people, and I actually believe the chemtrails might be what sparked all this energy with the, these violent crimes that were committed in Oceanside this weekend, So now I don't know how I prove that, but that is my conspiracy theory. But but it's based in pretty solid evidence. So
Yes.
But anyways, so I like everybody here. I just feel like we are I feel like Barbara Honecker said, we are in the castle, and the door is locked. We have control of the gates. Now, I have been critical of all these different things, and I will still say that I believe that a vast majority of this is Kim and her team, the work that they're doing, because I know that the Independence Day that the other beings on this planet share with us is fast approaching. And I do believe that for them to be free, that there must be some kind of agreement in place. Because there's some of those galactics that are returning to their planet. Kim has made arrangements to make sure that they have the seeds they need to replant their planet in some cases. So with that in mind, I have to also believe that part of their agreement before they leave is to make sure that we're liberated from these individuals that were left here to terrorize us by the other galactics. Now, and I think we are responsible for that, by the way, not to dismiss us from responsibility, but just to make a note that that's definitely, in my opinion, I believe that'd be part of it. Kim has never said that to me. That's just my opinion. So.
Well, let's focus on that. Make that happen. Let's.
You know what? Actually, Dan, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And this is something else I saw. Now, I'm always thinking about freedom. I'm always fighting to be free myself and to free others. And along the way, I've often realized when I see others, I'm like, some people just don't even want to be free, right? And that would bother me. You know what I saw just the other day? I realized I was afraid to be free. it's what I call the genie in the lamp curse. Okay, so now think about it. Genie comes out of the lamp. For this example, the genie gives you one wish, right? Now you make a wish. You say, "I want all the money in the world," right? So the genie says, "As you wish," gives you all the money in the world, right? So now you have all the money in the world. Then you go to spend the money. Now, as soon as you go to spend the money goes flying out of your hand and goes back to your barn and you keep all the money in the world, right? Because you wished to have all the money in the world. So you can't do anything with it because it's yours. You have all of it, no matter what. It's all yours, right? So this idea is, this curse, is I realized that this was getting me caught up thinking about freedom. That I thought about, I don't want to be left floating. You ever hear about somebody who's been through one of these, trying to get their sovereignty? And they get harassed by the cops or harassed by judges. And,
Sure.
When the family's not safe.
I've been there right side by side as it's going down.
Okay.
I've
So
been
now,
there.
I thought of things like that. I also thought about just being on an island by yourself. What does it mean to be free? These are all things that were in the back of my mind that would bother me, right? It would bother me thinking that was part of freedom. And I'll tell you something, I released that today for the first time, and I realized I never even thought to myself, wow, that was keeping me from being free. Because I was worried. You can't worry and trust at the same time. You can't do both. If you trust something, you're not worried. If you're worried, you don't trust. So you can't do both, right? You can't really love and hate at the same time. If you love somebody, you love them. You can't hate them too. Even though you might think you do, you don't. But so I was just thinking about that. Now, let me ask you, Dan.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, does it mean to be free?
So, there's a couple ways to look at that, right? Or if you're not looking at it from the standpoint of like all the paperwork, right? Removing all of that out of the picture, right?
Not the process, just the act of you are absolutely free. Freedom is yours. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's what I do. I'm living it. I just go and do the things I want to focus on, and there's no one coming to tell me, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to do this, right? And if you don't, you're going to be punished. All right, so it's like overcoming my will with their will, which is what I always also refer to as sorcery. But that's a little side jaunt there. But it's also not being about lawless, because I want to follow law that is righteous and fair and not something that is created as a system, to extract from me. So
Right.
So freedom of what I'm doing right now is I'm living my life as I want. Right? I'm taking these steps. I could, am I struggling with money right now? Yes, but I took those choices to be here, and I wouldn't go back and change them. I don't live in regret about the things I've decided to do. I don't regret, well, why did I ever call that WhatsApp number and get a hold of Tank? Why did I do that?
Thanks, man.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it very much. The path that I've been on, and I've been on a very miraculous path. I mean, I'm very much blessed with a very unusual life. The things that I've done and places I've been and people in my life. It's been, it's remarkable. And that's because I'm not living in fear. I mean, I've had my bout with fear and had to deal with it and have how to have an understanding. But that was part of the learning process.
Sure.
I'm not afraid of the situation that I'm in. I'm not going to blame people for it. I'm not going to look for creating a lot of negative energy about what I'm doing. I'm appreciating the people that are giving. Actually, someone just sent me 500 pesos. That means they're in the Philippines, right? And that's about $10. And so I appreciate that. So I'm up to $75. So so step by step means there's food. Food can be taken care of at this point. So. So the things if you're always looking outside yourself for why you're in the position you're creating your own prison. You're not free. You're blaming the man. You're blaming everyone around you for the things that are happening.
Fingers of the man keeping me down, man.
Yeah. It's the man that's doing it.
Indeed.
Now, I know it's the cabal that is the problem, but at the same time, it's not keeping me down.
Right on.
I'm moving forward with the things that I'm doing, and I will make something out of it that obviously that they're not going to be happy about, but I don't care that they're not happy about it. Okay, you won that Monopoly game. It's time for a new game. Clear the table.
Absolutely.
We're going forward, making something that is completely different. But we have to also realize that there's a transformation. There is a process, a bridge that has to be built. We don't just snap our fingers and everyone all at the same time is into a different dimension, and everything looks different. It's around them. Money's dripping from the ceiling, whatever. It's not like that, right? We have to build what that looks like and go there, right? And take the people along with us, the ones that are not up to speed. And that's also this great awakening. Partly to get them, hey, there's something wrong here. Just to wake up that far. Start wiping their eyes, so they get the sand out of their eyes because they've been asleep all this time. Even though they thought they were awake, they were just in the matrix, running the program. So when you don't know what's going to go on, I don't know, the step by step, the things that I'm working. I got stuff going on in the Kringle Society, so the very uncomfortable things that are happening there. Looking at, what is the way forward and the most positive way forward there, but that's heavy stuff there, and it's almost like dealing with another form of the cabal, right? same issues, and so solving it one place means you can solve it another place. It's duplicatable.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love it.
Okay, so how about you? Did I answer correctly?
I think it's personal. But here's what I'm saying. The reason why I bring it up is I think that all of us, when asked, would generally say, yes, I want to be free, right? But clearly, for the most part, we have a misconception about what it means to be free, right? So what happens is we've allowed this public slavery system to take control, and essentially what that's done is it's made us free from making our own decisions. It's made us free from having to go out and be exceptional. It's made us free from being naturally human. That's not the kind of freedom I want. That's why I asked. So for me, what it means to be free is freedom embodies the absolute authority to create without any limitations other than those that I create for myself. Having full access to the substance of all the riches of the planet has available, to be able to support and able to encourage and lift up others and allow them to do the same. The freedom to make choices about what I want my children to know about and what I want, how I want them to be taken care of. The freedom to go through certain experiences if I so choose, and the freedom to not go through those things if I so choose. Freedom means that I wouldn't have to be employed by anyone because I am allowed to be responsible completely and absolutely for everything that I bring into my field, everything that I create. And in so doing, the only limit I have on me is me. Now, like you said, Dan, I'm already free. And my opinion is the limitations we have financially that have been put on the collective of humanity, I take my responsibility for allowing that to still be the case. That is part of the collective reality that I've contributed to create, and I am rejecting and rescinding that offer. I no longer wish to be limited by financial means that I obviously agreed to. Because I'm free, I am changing that agreement. I accept the full responsibility to care for, connect with, love, and create a better world with the best interest of all the people on this planet. And I think if we all agree to that same thing, that this whole thing will be over by morning.
Yes, it is over in the morning. I'll take that time frame.
Yeah.
We are okay. Are we good then for today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You have a great night, man. I'm glad that a little bit of flow is coming and things are looking up.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thanks very much for what you're contributing. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All right.
And
Have a great night, everybody.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.